Hello all and welcome to my mini Talon conversion. Painless 360 is doing his own conversion on a model and was asking for anybody who's doing a similar type of conversion. So this is my mini Talon that I've had quite some time. The problem has been that a chuck launch or hand launch is really getting to a point where it barely clears the ground on the takeoff. So before I decided to go down this quad conversion route, I decided to increase the wingspan, and you can probably see here the pink section here in the tape. I found some pink foam and just decided to cut a copy of the wing profile and just add on the available width that I had. It's about 7 inches, I think, on each side. It does bring the wingspan up to quite a considerable amount, about 1.8 meters now, which I did try, and unfortunately one of my launching colleagues was still unable to give a hard enough hand launch to get it away. So this is what forced me to move on to a conversion and a 4+1 conversion. Last year I did attempt a tail sitter, and after lots and lots of crashes I did almost manage to get it working, but unfortunately when I did get it working it made some uncommanded rolls away from me and ended up in the ground. So we kissed goodbye to that one. So now we move on to this latest conversion. I considered having the motors coming out parallel with the wings here, or sorry, parallel with the body at right angles to the wings. The problem is that you have a need to increase the strength of the wing quite considerably, and after toing and froing and deciding what I could do, I decided to go for a copy of some other users whereby they've gone for I'll call them the horizontal option. And what I've done is to copy them and fix my cross member into the front of the frame as far forward of the leading edge as I could possibly get. The problem that I saw was with 11.5 props, moving to the back of the plane, you just cannot get enough clearance to put them in a sensible place. And seeing as that we're about 60 mil back here for the balance point, you have to measure all this amount plus a clearance for the props, and it would bring it back out underneath the edges of the elevator. So I decided to go for a top fixing on the rear, and hopefully, if it works out, have down under the wing propellers still mounted with their markings upwards. So in effect, they were just mimicking the front ones, but they were below the wing. And I thought that this would give me a better chance of increasing the lift, whereas if they were on top of the wing, then they would be blowing back here around this area here, and there wouldn't be as much lift. It would be compromised. So I started off with U-shaped angle aluminium, and I picked that because the front profile here was a lot thinner than this square, and I completed the front section, and unfortunately I didn't realise that whilst they had strength up and down, backwards and forwards, when you rotated or twisted the motor, you had terrible amounts of twist, which really was no good at all. So I've had to modify and go with this 15mm aluminium. I've accepted the extra weight, and I think now it's much more satisfactory. And I've just used some plates here and a bit of strengthening inside the body, and it is really strong. It's really strong. On the rear side, I plated across underneath this aluminium here, and I just put some side mounts on and glued it all in place. I will probably put a fixing screw, and then I was able to get the cables for the motors through. Now this build is unlike the painless, it's just an ASP and all spare parts. And these motors, these 20, let's have a look and see, these 3536s, they are some spares. They're 950 kV from my tail sitter, and I had a couple of brand new ones as well. So it was a case of having to use these. They are a bit heavy, and the finished weight has confirmed that in the fact that it is £7. So this extra wing span hopefully will allow me to fly at a reasonable speed when or if the copter even lifts off the ground. The props I'm using are 1155s, and I'm hoping that they'll give quite some lift. Not quite sure of what the current draw will be. I am hoping that at the worst instance it won't go above about 80 amps, and I've limited the current draw in Mission Planner to start reducing the speed a tiny bit if it approaches 80 amps. I'm hoping probably for about maybe 50 amps. I've got the inside covered off now because I was going to make an addition to this video covering the electronics inside. Just moving round to the back end of the plane, I have another pusher prop here, and it's the same sort, and that one's on a 10.6, and that should give enough grunt to get the thing going reasonably well when it makes a transition. Moving on to the inside, it is a bit tight to say the least. Let's start at the front. I have managed to get in a 5,000 4-cell milliamp, 5,000 milliamp 4-cell pack for the lift motors, and a 3,300 for the pusher motor. I was hoping to try and get two 5,000s in, but the weight was just astronomical. It's running on a Pixhawk, and once again, it's not the Pixhawk Cube or the Orange. It's just a bog standard Pixhawk 2.4.8 that I've had and have used in the past. My rear motors are fed by a couple of 30 amp escapements, and what I've done is to bring back the cabling out through a hole in the aluminium cross member down inside, and then just mounted them on top of the existing pusher motor 60 amp speed controller. Increased the cooling as well and the airflow through. At the moment I'm just on a FR Sky X8R receiver, and Up underneath the front, underneath all this gubbings here, which I'll explain about later, I have my two front lifter motor escapements in here. This box of tricks here on the front is my video recording system. It's using OpenHD, and I've been using OpenHD since they first started their website, and at the moment we're on version 2.012 and just hoping for their brand new version 2 release, but it's been a long time coming. Anyway, it now has virtually all the video equipment in the front nose, and I can unscrew this unit here and lift it away. So here is a Raspberry Pi W2, which is just here. We have a Raspberry Pi V2 camera, slightly better resolution, AC56 Wi-Fi dongle, and that's what transmits the video down. 5-volt regulator, and we have a 12-volt regulator for the gimbal and the gimbal control board. It's a 2-axis gimbal. It was a 3, but unfortunately in a crash it wrecked the yaw motor, so I'm just down to a 2-axis. Well, I just started up now the gimbal, and we can see that it's not too bad at all, really. My video comes down via a screen, and we'll just start the video system up. And while that's happening, we can look at this front here. I have a tilt, a manual tilt, that I can bring the camera down, and as you can see, it's not too bad at all there. The picture quality, when the screen starts up, we'll just lower the intensity a bit. Here's the picture of my workshop, and as far as I can tell, it should hopefully work out quite well. I have 2 current monitor systems in place at the moment. It's a bit unfortunate, but it's very difficult to get a 2-battery system on Mission Planner without having loads of extra bits and pieces. So on Mission Planner, I am monitoring through my 90 amp unit here. I'm monitoring the lifter motors, and I have about a 40 amp current monitor that I'm sending back down through the FR Sky, and I'm using Yapu.
Hello, Flyerman 1945.
Disarmed. Manual. Manual flight mode.
So I'm able to see the currents. So here at the moment I have, this is the pusher motor current, and temporarily here is the main lifting motor current here. There's obviously no map in there at the moment because I think my phone is a little bit close. I think it's interfering with the picture. This is the problem with OpenHD, in that you really want to be using ELRS. Now 868. The problem is that I know it's moving off the subject, but 2.4 or 5.8 seems to have a harmonic from the 2.4. If you move back away from the screen with your TX, then the interference drops off, and this is why I'm gradually moving to ELRS in the hope that 868 won't affect my picture when I have the transmitter in the cradle here. Anyway, that's in the future if the plane stays in one piece. That just about sums up now the initial build, the change, the way I've done the electronics. I now need to study Mission Planner and make my initial settings, and hopefully this week I can make a video of my first just lift off and hover and get some tuning done on these motors, and decide what else I'm going to add to it, whether I add the weather veining or, you know, the prop assist at the back. I don't know. I need to read a lot more before I can make a decision, but certainly there will be a video showing it either lifting off and going into pieces, or lifting off and a big cheer. So that's all for now.